Ching opened his eyes to find himself lying in a bed he didn't recognize. A beautiful woman named Ye Chenxi was sitting directly on top of him with a playful smile. He immediately jumped out of the bed, his heart racing as he demanded to know where he was. Ye Chenxi remarked that the drug she used shouldn't have worn off so quickly. In a flash of insight, Ching realized he had been reborn 300 years into his past. He remembered his 300 years of tireless cultivation in the fairy world to become a master swordsman. He had been moments away from the realm of eternity before time and space fractured. Now, he was 17 again, facing a woman who was behaving far too seductively. He told her there must be a misunderstanding and turned to leave the room. Ye Chenxi stated that she never let go of anything she liked, especially a handsome man. She suddenly grabbed his hand with a grip that was surprisingly strong. Ching realized his current body was weak and lacked the spiritual energy of his past life. A sudden flash of laser-like energy from a security system knocked him backward. He grabbed his school uniform and sprinted out of the house as fast as he could. Stepping outside, he took in the city sights he hadn't seen in 3 centuries. However, he soon noticed something extremely strange about the people around him. Women were the ones working hard and dominating the social spaces. Men were behaving delicately, wearing feminine accessories and acting shy. He headed to a library to research how history had changed so drastically. He discovered a cataclysmic event in ancient times had altered women's physiology. This event made women smarter and physically stronger than men. In this world, men were frowned upon for having affairs, while women were encouraged to chase them. He wondered if his own family had been affected by this strange social order. He entered his home and saw his father, Lin Yuantu, busily cleaning the house. His father was shocked to see him back early and immediately smelled perfume on him. The father warned him that it was dangerous for a handsome boy to be out alone. Ching learned his mother was out at a business meeting because their finances were failing. He went to check on his sister and found her watching inappropriate content in her room. His sister emerged claiming she didn't need to study because she could just marry a rich man. Ching realized the entire world was upside down and he needed to regain his power. He began to practice his Go in Freedom skill, feeling the thin aura of this world. Suddenly, his phone rang with a distressed call from his sister. She was being held captive at the Crescendo bar and told him to bring a hidden bag. Ching used his skills to leap across rooftops, reaching the bar in record time. He burst into room 302 and threw the bag onto the table before the gang leader. The bag opened to reveal 1 million in cash, much to everyone's surprise. When the leader refused to let them go, Ching slapped her with immense force. The gang leader pulled out a gun, but the door suddenly swung open. Ye Chenxi walked in with a cigarette, claiming this territory belonged to her. She ordered her guards to cripple the gang leader for daring to touch her responsibility. She offered Ching the chance to become her 36th boyfriend as a reward. He challenged her to a game of strength, winning and proving his hidden power. The crowd watched in disbelief as a man defeated a powerful female warrior. Ching left the bar, knowing his path back to power had only just begun. Days later, a sudden car accident sent his life into even greater chaos. A group of armed assassins emerged from the shadows, surrounding the wreckage. Ye Chenxi begged Ching not to leave her side as she revealed her mother had been hurt too. Ching realized the city's underworld was about to explode into total war. He agreed to help her, entering the Yi mansion where a deadly family conspiracy awaited. As he approached the wounded matriarch, he sensed a familiar dark energy that shouldn't exist in this world. Ching narrowed his eyes as the dark energy pulsed from the wounded matriarch's chest. This aura was a remnant of the Void Sect, a demonic cultivation path he had eradicated in his previous life. He realized that this parallel world held secrets far deeper than a simple reversal of gender roles. To survive and protect those he cared about, he needed resources that his current impoverished state could not provide. He spent the next morning scouring local markets for common herbs that others deemed worthless. In the eyes of these female doctors, these were weeds, but to a grandmaster, they were the components of a bone-forging pill. He returned to his small, cramped apartment and set up a makeshift cauldron using a kitchen pot. He channeled his thin thread of spiritual qi to ignite a pure white flame beneath the vessel. Sweat poured down his forehead as he refined the impurities from the mundane plants. By midnight, 3 emerald green pills rested in his palm, emitting a fragrance that cleared the mind. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of his sister, Chu Xie, sobbing quietly in the next room. He pushed the door open to find her clutching a bruised arm, her eyes red from crying. She confessed that the Iron Rose gang had been demanding protection money from her after school. A murderous intent flashed in Chu Ching's eyes, a coldness that belonged to a man who had slain gods. He gently patted her head and promised that no one would ever hurt her again. To settle this, he first needed to sell his pills to the highest bidder at the Phoenix auction house. The female guard at the entrance sneered at him, telling him that pretty boys should go to the back alley. Without a word, Chu Ching released a tiny burst of spiritual pressure that made the guard's knees buckle. The manager, a sophisticated woman named Madame Lin, quickly intervened and invited him into a private room. Her eyes widened in disbelief when she inspected the purity of the bone-forging pills. She offered him a staggering sum of 5 million yuan for the 3 pills, along with a VIP jade card. Chu Ching accepted, knowing this was only the beginning of his commercial empire. As evening fell, he donned a black hoodie and tracked the scent of the thugs who had touched his sister. He found them in a warehouse by the docks, laughing over stolen jewelry and cheap beer. He stepped out from the shadows, his presence suddenly making the air feel heavy and suffocating. The gang leader, a scarred woman with a metal bat, laughed at the sight of a pretty boy intruding on their turf. Before she could finish her insult, Chu Ching vanished, reappearing directly in her personal space. He shattered her wrist with a single finger, the metal bat clattering uselessly to the concrete floor. The other gang members rushed him, but he moved like a ghost through a storm, striking vital points with surgical precision. Within minutes, the entire gang lay groaning on the floor, unable to move a single limb. He leaned down and whispered into the leader's ear that if they ever saw his sister again, death would be a mercy. He left the warehouse and tossed the gang's ledger into a nearby fire, erasing their debt records. On his way home, he noticed a sleek black sedan following him at a distance. It was Ye Chenxi, the young miss of the powerful Ye family, who had been tracking his movements since the auction. She rolled down the window and invited him for a late-night drink, her eyes sparkling with predatory interest. Chu Ching declined her offer, stating that he didn't associate with women who hid in the dark. Instead of being offended, Ye Chenxi felt a thrill she had never experienced with any other man. As he finally entered his apartment, he felt the air turn freezing cold. Standing in his living room was a figure draped in shadows, holding a photo of his mother. The figure turned, and Chu Ching saw the mark of the Void Sect tattooed across their neck, the very same energy he had sensed earlier. The mark of the Void Sect on the figure's neck pulsed with a sinister, familiar violet radiance. Chu Ching realized that the hidden forces targeting his family were deeper and more ancient than local gangs. He knew that to protect his sister and the world he had come to inhabit, he must reach the peak of this society's power. The news of a male martial artist defeating elite female warriors began to spread through the underground channels like wildfire. The great matriarch of the Li family, Li Wanshu, threw her wine glass across the room in a fit of rage. She ordered her most skilled disciples to bring the delicate boy before her to be broken and disciplined. Chu Ching spent the next several days in deep meditation, refining the spiritual rocks he had cultivated. He felt his meridians expanding, the unique energy of this parallel world finally harmonizing with his ancient techniques. Suddenly, the rooftop gate burst open as 4 female assassins from the Li clan descended from the shadows. They laughed at the sight of a boy attempting to cultivate, calling him a pretty doll playing with rocks. Chu Ching opened his eyes, and the sheer pressure of his aura caused the surrounding plants to wither instantly. In a single flash of movement, he disarmed the lead assassin before she could even blink. He told them to go back to their matriarch and tell her that the era of male submission was over. Word of this confrontation reached Ye Chenxi, who rushed to Chu Ching's side with her personal guard. She warned him that the Li family would not stop until they had regained their lost face by crushing him publicly. Chu Ching smiled and suggested that if they wanted a public show, he would give them a performance they would never forget. He challenged the strongest matriarchal families to a martial arts tournament held at the Grand Imperial Arena. The public laughed, thinking a man was throwing his life away for a moment of diluted glory. His sister Chu Qiao approached him with tears in her eyes, begging him to reconsider the dangerous gambit. He promised her that by tomorrow, no man in this city would ever have to live in fear again. The day of the tournament arrived, and the Grand Imperial Arena was packed with thousands of spectators. Chu Ching walked onto the center stage, wearing a traditional white robe that stood out against the modern tactical gear of his opponents. His first opponent was the champion of the Tang family, a woman known for her lightning-fast palm strikes. She launched a barrage of attacks, but Chu Jing moved with the grace of a falling leaf, untouchable and serene. With a single flick of his finger, he sent a pulse of energy that neutralized her internal power, causing her to collapse. The silence in the arena was deafening as the undisputed champion was defeated by a delicate boy in seconds. One by one, the elite warriors of the major clans stepped forward, and one by one, they were humbled. Finally, Li Wanshu herself descended from the royal box, her presence radiating a suffocating killing intent. She unleashed a technique that summoned a phantom dragon of pure spiritual energy to devour her opponent. Ching summoned his sword, which expanded into a pillar of golden light that pierced the very clouds. With a single horizontal slash, he severed the phantom dragon and shattered the Matriarch's defense in one move. Li Wanshu fell to her knees, her eyes wide with the realization that a man had truly reached the peak. Ching stood over her, not with malice, but with the quiet dignity of a true sovereign. He declared to the world that strength is not a matter of gender, but of the soul's determination. Men in the audience began to weep, realizing they no longer had to live as second-class citizens. The heads of the other matriarchal families stood up and bowed, acknowledging his peerless strength. Yi Chenxi walked onto the stage, her pride in him shining more brightly than the stadium lights. In the months that followed, laws were rewritten, and a new era of balance began to take root in society. Ching sat on his rooftop once more, watching the sunset over a world he had finally made his own. He realized that his rebirth was not just for his own power, but to be the bridge between two divided worlds. The peerless swordsman had finally found his true realm of eternity in the hearts of the people he saved.